Welcome to What a Creep, the show with Margot Donahue and Sonia Mansfield talking about creeps from the past to the present.
This is your quick guide to the biggest creeps, jerks, assholes, and losers, the best of the worst.
From two nice ladies who want the world to be a little less creepy.
Welcome back to What a Creep. This is Margot Donahue, and my cohort in creepitude, as always, is the amazing Sonia Mansfield. Hey, Sonia.
Hello, my friend.
Hello, my friend. We are the show that talks about creeps from the past to the present. We got us a really good old-fashioned anti-gay creep that we're talking about today.
Whee!
And then a person who did a really non-creepy thing and an awesome thing kind of around the same time as our creep today. Can I be more vague? Sure. Anyway, we do have a basic Facebook page. That's where people go to complain about our language. Yes, we use salty language in this program. This is a show really for grown-ups.
Fuck yeah.
We have a private Facebook group. That's where Sonia and I are the most interactive. It's the only time you'll see Sonia on Facebook, really.
Pretty much.
Pretty much. So it's a private group. You have to ask to join. There's 3 little questions. And if you listen to the top of the show, every show, you'll know what those answers are.
It's easy.
You just look up What a Creep podcast group, answer those questions. You have to promise just not to be a shithead when you show up. And pretty much we'll hang out and have fun. We talk about creeps and non-creeps and stuff that's happening in the news. And everybody comes up with great ideas and suggestions.
It's the best group.
Yes.
It's the best group on Facebook.
We're on Twitter at CreepPod because somebody had What a Creep on Twitter for over 10 years and never used it.
Creep.
We are on Instagram, What a Creep Podcast. Please follow us there. And also, we have an old-timey email if you ever want to reach out to us. It's What a Creep Podcast, spell it all out, at gmail.com. We do have stickers. We have some rad stickers if y'all are interested. Let us know. Mm-hmm. We will drop them in the mail for you wherever you are. Sonia, do you want to tell them real quick about the website?
Yes, you can go to whatacreeppodcast.com, and it's everything you ever want to know about our podcast, but we're afraid to ask. We have all of our episodes there. We're in like season 19 right now, which, by the way, doesn't mean we've been doing the show for 19 years. It just means we have multiple seasons every year. But anyway, you can go into all of those episodes, and all of our episodes have links to our sources because we source everything. So if you're wondering, where did they get that? We got it from somewhere and we link to it. So do that. There's also a link to our merch shop where you can get t-shirts and tote bags and journals and all kinds of awesome stuff. Do it. And there's a link to our Patreon page. Tell them about that, Margot.
Certainly. So you go to Patreon, Patreon, you look up What a Creep Podcast. Our first 5 seasons are there. We post those episodes just there. We also put out 2 bonus episodes a month, and we put out a newsletter every month that Sonia puts together. That's really rad. And yes. I want to thank Chelsea and Anne for joining us in there, one of our Patreon cohorts.
Thank you.
And another way you can support us is leave us a review in iTunes or leave some stars or wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Good Pods, wherever you do, wherever you listen to us. I also want to give a shout out to this person in Canada who wrote, "They always sound drunk," which is fine, but ... Okay, whatever.
1 star.
1 star. In your honor, sir or madam, we have a Canadian non-creep today.
Yeah, we don't drink on the What a Creep show, by the way. I was like, that review sounds like it should have been for dorking out. We're not 100% of the time, but we have done episodes where I am definitely a little drinky, and I will announce it that I am drinky, so it's not usually a surprise.
No, honestly, with this stuff, we take it very seriously because we're talking about some serious shit. So
we do.
You know, if we just sound drunk, maybe, I don't know, it's the allergy medicine. It could just be because it's 5 o'clock on Friday when we usually do this and I have the sleepies. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I'm not going to dwell on it anymore. I wish you well. Just don't be an asshole only once.
Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't mean drunk. Maybe they think it means something else. Maybe they're Canadian. Maybe drunk means something else in Canada. maybe they just meant they sound liberal. And he's like, ew, 1 star.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, they do have their truckers up there that are pretty scary. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, We today we have, like you said, it's an old-timey one. It's a 70s one. Let's just get right into it, Sonia.
Yeah.
Who is our creep today?
We are going to be talking about Anita Bryant.
Ooh.
Woo! Trigger warnings for this. Homophobia. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
She's fucking homophobic creep. Sources for this episode: The Daily Beast, Encyclopedia, NBC News, PBS, Playboy. That's right, Playboy. The Slate podcast, 1 year, 1977. Them, The Washington Post, and of course, always Wikipedia. So, for folks who don't know, Anita Bryant was a singer in the early 60s, but she's probably best known for her Florida orange juice commercials in the early 70s. She did stuff where it was like, come to Florida sunshine, and breakfast without orange juice is like a day without sunshine. And
I fucking hate orange juice, by the way.
By the way, orange juice gives me diarrhea, but whatever. So it's not just for breakfast anymore, whatever. So I guess I should have said trigger warnings. I was going to mention that orange juice gives me diarrhea. So there you go.
We get scatological sometimes.
So Anita Bryant could have just got her big juice money and lived a quiet life, but instead she decided to use her fame to strip basic human rights away from gay people. And while trying to criminalize being gay was not new in the 70s, she's kind of the one who made it mainstream.
She perfected it.
Yeah. Yeah, she's a trendsetter. The impact of her hateful campaign can be seen in the current Don't Say Gay bill in Florida and in a bunch of other laws around the country targeting drag shows. If you watch The Simpsons, there's a character that repeatedly uses the line, "Won't someone think of the children?" That's basically Anita Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that they meant to base that character on Anita Bryant, but that's basically who she is. So yeah, everything old is new again. Let's talk about Anita Bryant, this fucking creep. Let's start at the beginning. Anita Jane Bryant was born March 25th, 1940 in Barnsdall, Oklahoma. Her parents were Lenora and Warren Bryant, and they were 18 and 19 when she was born. That's pretty young. But
very young, yeah, but that's what people did.
Yeah, they were divorced by the time she was 2. Then they remarried each other the following year, and then divorced again when she was 13. Good on them for trying to make it work, I guess.
Jesus. 13's rough.
Yeah. Larry Miller, the comedian, used to have this old routine about people who get divorced and then get back together again. And he said it's like taking sour milk out of the refrigerator and drinking it and going, "Ew, this milk is sour. Maybe it'll be fresh later." And they put it back in the fridge. Because her parents moved around a lot, uprooted the whole family, and because they clearly had a tumultuous relationship, she spent a lot of her childhood living with her grandparents, and they were very religious. Anita Bryant, she loved to sing. She always loved to sing. She was singing in church, Jesus loves me. She's like 2 years old singing in church. She's on stage by the age of 6, singing at local fairgrounds in Oklahoma. And the audience loved her, and she loved the applause, as entertainers are wont to do. By the age of 8, she was singing on a weekly local radio show. And when she wasn't singing, she was praying because, again, religious grandparents. By 16, she got her big break. She became a favorite on the Arthur Godfrey TV show on CBS. I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it's a variety show that he used to do on the radio. And then he moved it to CBS. And she was there, all the time, singing songs. She got a record deal. Again, she's like 16 at this point, gets a record deal. She did a cover version of Till There Was You, which I believe is from The Music Man, and it sold over 1 million copies. She did another song called Paper Roses, In My Little Corner of the World, Wonderland by Night. These were all big hits for her. I don't know any of these songs because I don't like Anita Bryant. She sucks. But I bet, ask your grandma if she knows these songs. She probably does. So she also became Miss Oklahoma in 1958, and she was the second runner-up. That means she became in third. I don't know why they don't just say third. 1959 Miss America pageant. she would have been 18. And this was like right after graduating from high school. From 1961 to 68, she was on the road with What a Creep alum Bob Hope.
Oh, yes.
Yes, doing the holiday tours for the USO. She traveled around with Hope. She did the televised USO shows as well.
Can you imagine, just a sec, serving overseas, shit at the shoe level, losing your friends, and who shows up to entertain you but Bob Hope and Anita Bryant? Like the cheesiest, least offensive, like no edginess whatsoever.
Nothing.
And I'm sure they're grateful for it because it's something to do.
It's something, but still.
But wow, yeah.
Boring. So she was all in on the Vietnam War. She called it a fight between atheism and God. And I was like, that's not really what it's about, but sure.
Okay.
Sure. Okay. In 1969 is when she became the spokesperson for the Florida Citrus Commission. And it's just commercials all the time. Like the stuff. Yeah, Max, I know. It's not for breakfast anymore, blah, 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 whatever. She also did commercials for Coke, Kraft, Holiday Inn, Tupperware. She was like a commercial queen.
I bet she made a shitload of money.
She made a ton of money. And in the middle of all this like stuff going on, she also got married. She married a man named Bob Green, who was a Miami disc jockey. They had 4 children together, and they co-authored several books together, preaching the gospel of straight marriage and living a holy life.
Okay.
Sounds boring, but whatever.
That's a lot of books for one sentence.
Yeah. Here's a couple of the books. So one was called Raising God's Children. Sounds good.
Spare the rod.
Looking forward to, Bless This Food, an inspiring personal guide to Christian family togetherness. I couldn't get through it without snickering. Sorry. Bless This Food, an inspiring personal guide to Christian family togetherness through home, family, faith, and love. She also did Bless This House, and that one's all about like Christian marriage and how it's awesome. And her husband co-wrote that one. They did another one called Fishers of Men. I don't know what that means, but it's all about like spreading their Christian faith. They are very religious. Yeah. Basically, all of her books are about like being Christian is rad, about being the perfect wife, raising perfect Christian children. And while all these books are coming out, we're talking about like, early 70s. There's a lot of a lot of protesting going on. A lot of marginalized groups are starting to fight for equal rights, including women, because the ERA was like a thing that everyone wanted, and the gay community. So just a little history lesson. For like much of the 20th century, being gay was illegal and like actively like policed. Like that's what the whole Stonewall riots, all that. Stonewall, thank you. It was all about that stuff. If you were outed as gay, you could lose your job and you could be arrested. You could lose your freedom, and you could be legally discriminated against. There was no protections for you. And I mean, up until like 1973, being gay was classified as a mental illness. This is where we are.
Jesus.
So gay rights groups they're trying to get equal rights, as they should, because they're humans. They should have basic human rights. Shouldn't we all? So all these gay rights groups are popping up, and it's like New York, San Francisco, and then it's like St. Paul, Eugene, Oregon, Wichita, Miami. It's like it's getting everywhere. And they're making some progress, getting not on a national level, not even on a state level, but they're making progress on a local level. So they're getting ordinance passed in like counties to make discrimination, like job discrimination, housing discrimination, illegal. And this is when you're starting to see like this, what would become the religious right starts like, they start building up their like fucking religious army. And so in 1977, Dade County, Florida, held a vote for an ordinance that would give gay people like protections for like housing and employment. Imagine that. And here comes Anita Bryant, and she's just ready to fight against it. She shows up at the public hearing, and this is what she said. If this ordinance amendment is allowed to become law, you will in fact be infringing upon my right, or rather discriminating against me as a citizen and a mother, to teach my children and set examples or point to others as examples of God's moral code as stated in the Holy Scriptures.
God's plan.
God's plan
was not this bad.
Yes. By giving gay people basic human rights, she has to acknowledge that gay people exist. Therefore, we're discriminating against her.
Right. And her poor children have to then understand that other people exist with different values.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the commissioners were
that's
like,
how it works. It's a society.
yeah, the commissioners were like, bitch, please, fuck off. And they passed the measure. Like, so, she, and then she marches out and she's like, we're not taking this, we're not gonna take it.
And D-Sider says, fuck you, don't use my song.
Yeah, and he's like, fuck you, you can't use my song. Royalties, please. No. And she says, like, the ordinance condones immorality. It's discriminating against my children's right to grow up in a healthy, decent community. It's just all like, won't someone think of the children bullshit. Because so her strategy, and this wasn't super commonplace at the time, but it is now, was this like idea that you're discriminating against me by giving them equal rights.
These citizens and taxpayers, giving them rights is discriminating against you.
It's me. It's somehow giving them rights is taking away rights from me.
Or my grandmother would say, special rights, which made her so mad. And it's like, there's no such thing.
It's so shitty. So this is she's the one who kind of started this kind of crusade. And I use the word crusade on purpose. So, and she uses the term a lot, militant homosexuals. And that's her thing. Militant homosexuals, I put this in quotes for y'all, who are, highly financed, highly organized, and she says, like, their true objective isn't to, like, have jobs or, like, buy houses. She says, because they couldn't reproduce biologically, their hope is that they can recruit your children and teach them to be gay. That's what she thinks this is really about.
What would be the point?
She's just such a garbage person. So she launches these like Save Our Children campaigns, and she used her celebrity to mobilize conservative activists and draw media attention to gay rights. So she had this mantra that she would repeat: homosexuals cannot reproduce, so they must recruit. That was her thing. And she'd say it all the time.
But somebody has to make the babies. I mean, like, it hurts my brain. It hurts my brain.
Yeah. So it was, again, won't someone think of the children? We have to protect children from gay people because all gay people are pedophiles and sexual predators and all this stuff. And she's constantly like doing commercials and press conferences, and she's just repeating these things that aren't true. And she's referring to gay people as, an evil force, and they're an abomination, and, they shouldn't have basic human rights. And her organization took out these ads where it was just like huge ads in the Miami Herald, like describing like, sexual perverts are out there molesting kids and all this stuff. And it's in the newspaper. So people are like, well, it must be true.
Well, it's both sides. Your side is that you're a human being, and my side says you're the son of the devil.
Yes.
They're both true. They're both equal.
Yes. And then, so she would do these press conferences and interviews and claiming that this ordinance would protect the right to have intercourse with animals. Like, people could just do it with animals now because, it's just the most garbage, bad faith arguments, which, by the way, you could still get on like Tucker Carlson right now.
I've had former friends say very similar
Yes.
things when we had gay marriage
It's-
here. Yes.
It is so stupid. So then she started doing these rallies, and they were called like a rally for decency. And I was like, sounds boring. Like I shared a photo in our creep group of what one of the flyers looks like. And it says right on the flyer, it's time for decent people to stand up and be counted. Come and find out what you can do to make streets safe from criminals, our parks safe for our children, and our neighborhoods free from smut. Sounds stupid.
Boring.
Boring. So these rallies would happen, and
Do
the
they just
commercials
watch paint dry? I mean, seriously,
Yeah.
I think that'd be much more
no,
exciting.
they probably just fucking all hold hands and sing "Jesus Loves You" or something. Who knows? Sounds. I don't know.
It's not my thing.
No, it's definitely not my thing. I would hate it there. I would rather go to Burning Man, and I hate Burning Man.
Burning Man, yes.
Okay, so well, I don't hate it. I just would never go. Anyway, so these rallies would happen, and she's doing the commercials, the press conferences, the rallies, and then the media covers those things, right? And they make it, and these events make it sound like there's gay predators everywhere, which there isn't. And then Anita Bryant and Save Our Children, this group, take the headlines from this media coverage to claim that gay people, specifically like gay teachers, they were like really targeted on like gay teachers, were a threat. And so it was like this circle. It was, they go out, they say all these shitty things, the media covers these shitty things, and then they grab the headlines and use it to justify the shit they said first. And this is still something that's happening now. Like this is, you could go to Fox News right now or Newsmax or any of those fucking things, but I wouldn't recommend it. But they create a problem, they create an issue, they create a controversy that isn't there. Then viewers start acting on and commenting on these made up problems, these issues, these controversies, and then Fox News covers those actions and comments, cementing the idea that this is a real thing, and so on and so on and so on. So this is what they did. And it all worked. It worked. Like she got the signatures, the ordinance went back on the ballot, and it worked. 70% of the people voted to repeal this ordinance and strip away basic human rights from people. And this ordinance wasn't overturned until 1998. So for 21 years, it was a thing in Dade County. And
let's remember citizens and taxpayers. There are fellow citizens and taxpayers. They should be able to have basic rights, like just to work a job. They want to fuck your kid.
Your kid's not all that.
No.
Give me a break. No one wants to fuck your kid. No. It's like, you know who's really doing this shit? The fucking churches. But whatever. That's a whole other thing.
The scout leaders,
Yes.
At the church camps.
Hashtag not all churches.
Not all Christians. I mean,
yes.
Jimmy Carter is a wonderful example of somebody
Yes.
who walks the walk. Yes.
Yes. That's a great one. So here we are. The damage is done. Like she goes on like a fucking like victory tour, basically countrywide decency tour, bringing her hate and homophobia wherever she goes. You know,
a fart
and
in the wind. She's just everywhere.
She's everywhere, and it works. Her and her shitty group, they strip away rights for gay people in Miami, you know, Oregon, St. Paul, Wichita. Like, it's so fucked up. And she became the face of the national anti-gay rights movement. So she did the ads. She's doing her shitty decency rallies.
She wanted that attention, by the way. So
she wanted it.
Yeah.
She wanted it. And she, you know, here's a swell quote. She said that she would seek help and change for homosexuals whose sick and sad values belie the word gay, which they pathetically use to cover for their unhappy lives.
Oh, what a C word.
I know, exactly. And so I do have plans for like What a Creep future episodes on these people. Jerry Falwell.
Indeed.
Televangelist Pat Robertson.
Indeed.
And Senator Jesse Helms.
Oh, God. It's like
Fuck
a
him.
trio of shitheads.
Yes, right? They these three shitheads and a bunch of other leaders who eventually would become the religious right, which wasn't really a thing at this point. They jumped in to help her, and in turn, like, she helped them. She would appear on their, like, the PTL club,
Yep.
or, you know, in the 700 club, and repeat her shitty hot takes, and these dudes just ran with it, and it became a thing. The idea that gays and lesbians
And they made a
were
lot of money from it.
they
by the
made
way,
so much money
that they don't
and
pay
that
taxes on.
it all comes back to the money. We're gonna get there, y'all. So the gays and lesbians were somehow, like, threatening to children, and this became the issue that the religious right, like, grabbed onto, this and abortion, by the way. And it just became their most powerful fundraising tool. It was about money and power is what it's about. So in 1981, Jerry Falwell was actually, like, he fully was using her talking points, you know, the whole, like, homosexuals don't reproduce, they recruit, you know, they're coming out for your children and my children, and all, like, he's repeating like word for word stuff that Anita Bryant said, which is why I wanted to do Anita Bryant first.
I have the copyright for that, sir.
Yeah, hello. I am the one who came up with they don't reproduce, they recruit. Yeah, and she's the one that was using the militant homosexual language that we still get now. And if you hear people saying that, just remember, they're, first of all, they're garbage people, but these are, like, people who create bad faith arguments. So, you know, these are the people that say that, like, they create cartoon characters like fucking Teletubbies or SpongeBob,
Right.
and supposedly these animated things, these creatures are gay, which I don't know if that's true, but they say they are, and it's to recruit innocent children. Or militant homosexuals push for hate crime laws, you know, so that they can legally persecute Christians. Or militant homosexuals want to get married so that they can destroy the sanctity of marriage. It's like, no, assholes. They just want basic human rights.
Right.
Like,
It just turns out what they want, just want to get married, have kids, or not.
yes, they just want to live their
Just
lives.
live their fucking lives.
Without being discriminated against.
Oh
It's
my
such
God.
bullshit. And these people, like, this is the stuff, this is the fucking red meat that they throw out to their base, and their base just eats it up. Yum, 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 yum. And then they raise all this money. That's what it's about. And Anita Bryant, of course, she wants to cash in too. So she wrote a book, and it's got a long name, so bear with me. The Anita Bryant Story: The Survival of Our Nation's Families and the Threat of Militant Homosexuality. Just rolls off the tongue. And it just goes on and on about how God chose her to protect the children from the gays. And, you know,
Very Holden Caulfield.
it's just so shitty, you know. And then she wrote something about, to award non-discrimination protection was to offer them a special privilege.
Special rights.
Yes. If we label homosexuality a civil rights issue, what's to stop murderers from shouting murderers' rights?
Oh, for God's sakes, that's so
It's
fucking
the
dumb.
stupidest.
So dumb.
So shitty. She wrote another book after that called At Any Cost. And she co-wrote it with her husband. And, you know, just comparing homosexuality to cancer, talking about abortion and equal rights amendments, and how that was all about, like, also those things are about destroying the social structure of what America is supposed to be. That even the ERA, which obviously, like,
Oh, that's
like,
one I can't take.
Here we go. Anti-male, anti-white, anti-family, anti-Christian, and anti-American from start to finish.
Fuck you.
She's fuck
this
you.
lady.
She sucks, y'all, and she sucks. Anyway, Like I said, she became the face of homophobia, and her face famously got a pie in it. It was super awesome. If you want to see that, go to our What a Creep group. We linked up the footage there. You know, she's doing some press conference, and this activist, Tom Higgins, like ran up and he threw a pie in her face. And I believe it was a fruit pie. Get it? Fruit pie. And, you know, she's just like, I pray for him to be delivered from his deviant lifestyle. I'm like, fuck you. She sucks. But here's the good stuff. So because of this, because of her, she really drove gay rights activists to
The
get
brink.
it to get it together.
Yeah.
Basically, like they fucking organized. It spread all over. So like, you know, they where's the thing? Well, they took out like an ad in the New York Times, and they thanked her for her work of like bringing together 20 million gay men and lesbians to fight discrimination. Like they beat it back here in San Francisco when we talked about Dan White.
Yep.
And we talked about Harvey Milk in one of our old episodes. They tried to pass a law like this in not just in San Francisco, but in California.
It was in California, yeah.
Yeah, and there was a whole gay rights group that like fought it off, and like she didn't win. And here's where it just starts to go wrong for her. Like by 1981, her agent has dropped her because she's shitty. The Florida Citrus Commission stopped running her ads, and she had to file for bankruptcy twice.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And then like this whole Christian crusade that she started turned on her because in 1980 she filed for divorce.
From Bob?
Yes.
What
From
happened?
Bob.
What happened there?
They just weren't happy anymore or whatever. And so she didn't want to be married to him. And he was like, I object. And her pastor was like, I object. And she filed for divorce anyway.
Oh, wow.
And then the Christian right turned on her.
Because she's a Scarlet Woman now?
Yes. Televangelist who had been like her. Yeah.
Look who you butt up to there, asshole.
It sucks. They described her
women.
as wicked. Yes.
Yes.
Like, yeah, she was being a pick-me. And then when she decided to assert some rights for herself, they were like, no, you can go stand over there now. Like, so they called her like wicked and a disgrace and, you know, all that. And then like 10 years later, she remarried some dude. He said he was like in love with her since they were kids or whatever, like bullshit, whatever. But so recently, Slate did a episode of their podcast 1 year where they talked to Sarah Green, and Sarah Green is the daughter of one of Bryant's sons. And she told a story about how she came out to her grandmother at age 21. So she said that
that's her granddaughter.
Yes.
Okay.
She's on the phone with her grandmother, Anita Bryant, and Anita Bryant's just like, you know, someday you'll find a great man, blah, blah, blah. You'll find a suitable husband, blah, blah, blah. And Green said she would not stop talking about how the right man was going to come along. And I just snapped and I said, I hope one doesn't come along because I'm gay. I don't want a man to come along. And this did not soften her. She is still like, she prays every day that like her granddaughter won't be gay.
Well, like dick.
Yeah, that she'll like dick, basically. Like, and it's not working. And I was like, it's so sad. Like here she's fucking 82. She's 82. She's still alive.
Yeah.
And she is still so hateful that she can't even let her own family be who they are. It's garbage. So I'm gonna bring it all in for a landing. So here we are 50 years later almost 50 years later after this like Save Your Children campaign. We have Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Don't worry, we're going to get to him someday. So he signs something that's called the Parental Rights and Education Bill, but it's really called the Don't Say Gay Bill, which is like you can't even acknowledge the gay people exist. And he's going all out. Like there's bookshelves that are like empty now because you can't even like acknowledge that like Black people exist either. It's ridiculous. Anyway, the measure went into effect last year. It prohibits classroom instruction on sexual orientation or gender identity. So like you're not supposed to like talk about trans people or anything like that, but also because it's the way it's written, you technically can't say people are male or female either. I don't know. It's really fucking weird and stupid and a waste of time.
Yes, it's a big stupid waste of time.
Yes.
But
And
it's
there
throwing
are like
chum into the water.
exactly. So we're again, we talked about this a little bit in the bonus episode, but like we are still fighting the same fights over shit that should not even be up for discussion anymore. Like lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender plus
Queer.
people, yes, should have the same rights we all do. Women should have the same rights as men. Women should have autonomy over their own over their bodies and be able to make their own medical decisions. But here we are,
Right.
still fighting about the same shit, and this is why we can't have nice things, because we just waste our time on bullshit like this. So he's passed that law. 19 other states are pushing similar laws. They're going after drag shows when like never has a drag performer been convicted of like molesting
Pedophilia.
children. Yeah, exactly. But like pastors and youth pastors and fucking Boy Scout leaders and all of that, whatever. So we have that again. What's happening now is not new.
Right.
You know, everything old is new again. So Anita Bryant does not live in Florida anymore. She moved back to Oklahoma, and she runs the Anita Bryant Ministries International. It's a church where I'm sure she doesn't pay taxes.
I'm sure she doesn't. Yeah.
So that's our creep, Anita Bryant.
Good job, Sonia.
Thank you. Fuck her.
She would go on all the talk shows.
Yes.
And just everybody had her on. But, you know, not realizing she's giving the game away to a bunch of dudes who have no loyalty to her. They don't even have loyalty to one another, but definitely not to women.
Exactly. Thank you. You're bringing it all. Like she did all this stuff, and then these like rich, white, and, you know, religious dudes, yes, took all her stuff. They have channeled it for like their own purposes, and then also, oh, by the way, fuck women,
Right?
You know, and threw her in with everybody else. She's such an asshole.
Ugh. All right, Sonia, this is the best part of the show, I think.
Yes,
We get to talk about a non-creep, especially when somebody like her. So, do you know who? And I want to thank, by the way, in our Facebook group. I just had a busy week and I needed help finding a non-creep, and they were so great about giving suggestions. Y'all are amazing. And I was like,
best group on Facebook.
I wanted to save him for a Canadian creep. We've done a couple of Canadian creeps, but today I was like, I'm going to talk about Terry Fox. Do you know who Terry Fox is?
The name is super familiar. And I know once you start talking about him, I will be like, oh yeah.
Terry Fox was born 1958 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. He's Terrence Stanley Fox. Handsome, good athlete. Wanted to play basketball, but he was on kind of the shorter side. So the coach said, why don't you try long distance running and see how that works for you? And he took to it like a duck to water. He loved running. Mm-hmm. And he graduates high school. He goes to college. He's teaching phys ed part-time, like living the dream, like doing everything he wants to do up in Canada, up in British Columbia. And then he gets into a really bad car accident. And he it doesn't heal properly. It's like 1976, 77, even though they have, they have great health care up there.
Yeah.
But he just was like, I'll just rub some dirt on it and walk it off, right? I'm not going to deal with it. I'm young. I just want to play sports. Right. I'm just going to forget about this thing. And it just got more and more painful. And he goes to the doctor one day and he thinks he's going to go and like get some knee surgery or something because his knee is killing him.
Right.
And he gets diagnosed with osteosarcoma. And basically, it's a cancer that's spread through his leg.
Oh, man.
And he didn't know.
Fuck cancer.
Once again, we say this all the time, but seriously, fuck cancer. He's a kid, and he's 18, 19 years old, and they don't know what to do. And the only thing they can think the best advice they could give him is, we have to amputate your leg.
Oh.
Because it's spreading. And they don't know if the cancer was spread because he was in the accident, it jiggled something or whatever. Most doctors don't agree, but definitely he needed to go in sooner than he did. But once again, you're young and you're an athlete. You're always in pain anyway, right?
No,
Something always hurts.
You think, and you're young. You think you're going to live forever. You don't think this really serious stuff is going to happen to you. No.
So he gets his leg amputated, and while he's getting an artificial leg created for him so that he could be active, he gets into wheelchair basketball. And remember that movie Murder Ball? It was like, it's not that level, but it's pretty close. He became a jock in a wheelchair. He was really active. And he wanted to raise money for cancer research in Canada so that more people could afford preventative care and that kind of thing. And he gets this artificial leg created for him, and it's his right leg, by the way. And he does it in 1980. He created what's called the Marathon of Hope. And he basically was running across Canada to raise money for cancer.
I remember this now. Was there a TV movie about him?
There's a couple of TV movies about him.
Yeah, okay, I've seen one.
And he was on Real People or something like that, or That's Incredible. He was on all the shows when we were kids.
Used to watch both of those.
Me too.
That's Incredible. Real People. There was one called Those Amazing Animals.
Yes.
I used to watch that.
Burgess Meredith.
Yeah, with him and his penguin.
Yes.
So cute.
He was a story in North America, but especially in Canada. It's a big fucking deal. He starts out, and there's a few people who see him, but they don't really know. And he has obviously has a very odd kind of gait to him, because you can't. This is old school. It's not like the guy Jaco Pastorius. Not that was a basis. But you know what I'm talking about. There was the guy in South Africa that killed his girlfriend who had those special legs. Mm-hmm. He didn't have special legs. He had it was pretty janky, and they would get.
He didn't have what Forrest Gump would call magic legs.
He did not have. He didn't have the green screen magic legs.
Magic legs.
He starts going across the country, and then more and more press shows up, and the word gets out, and people start showing up. And then by the time he starts, I think, in Nova Scotia, and he goes across, and then it's a really fracacta kind of thing. I don't understand why they picked the route that they did. And he's traveling with his best friend and his brother. Well, his best friend was ready to kill him because he was super moody, because he's running a marathon a day.
Yeah, he's fucking tired.
He was tired with an amputated leg, a prosthetic that was very, very painful.
I'm I have two legs. I can't do that.
No. By the time he circles around in Ontario and he gets to Toronto, it's I don't know if you've ever been to Toronto, but it's just he's at the main spot. There's a stage set up for him. He is this big fucking deal in Canada. Unfortunately, he doesn't really get to enjoy it that much. He raises a lot of money for cancer, but he starts to it's just so brutally hard on his body and where they put the by his hip and everything, where they actually put the leg, the prosthetic. It was very painful, and he started just feeling sick, and he thought maybe it was cold, maybe it was the flu. But he goes back home to British Columbia, and the cancer's coming back. And his poor mom, who's only 40 or something, she's really young when she had him. He dies June 28th, 1981. He was the youngest person named a companion of the Order of Canada.
Oh.
That was in 1980. He had the Lou Marsh Award. I don't know who that is. He was Canada's Newsmaker of the Year in both 80 and 81. And he's considered this huge national hero in Canada. And apparently our Canadian peeps tell us, there are so many monuments to him all across Canada. like all over the place. There are all
Yeah.
kinds of runs that are done in his honor. There's all kinds of scholarships in his honor. In 1981 or 2, there was a TV movie, and I think the person actually was a person that didn't have was missing his leg too.
I think so too.
Not the best actor, and no offense, but they kind of made him sound like an asshole. Like the family was really not very happy with this particular treatment because they were trying to create drama.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like he's this fair-haired kid just doing his thing every day. Like after a while, I guess they thought we need to show different sides of him. So the family didn't like it. Yeah, so look him up. So a few years ago, there was a series of on ESPN called 30 for 30, and they've actually gone way beyond 30 documentaries. They've done way more than that. There's one for him, and it's a terrible time. This is another thing for 30 for 30. Just label your documentaries. This is the story of Joe Montana. Then you put the colon, then their title, right? It just says Facing the Wind. And I'm like, well, it's like, what? It drove me crazy.
Who's that?
Well, I mean, I know what it means because I'm a cyclist and I don't want to face the wind. It's just it pushes into your face. You want the wind on your back. But, Jesus Christ, people. But anyway, they go back and they talk about him and his family and just how hard it was for him and how he was so moved by all the people. And the people that showed up for him. So anyway, he's a huge hero. They did make up for it. They did get another actor to play him, and the family was happier with the second movie they came out. And you can look this shit up in Wikipedia.
The one that I saw was 1983.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, yeah, that's definitely the one I saw, and I think it played on HBO a lot. But
yeah, I think Robert Duvall's in it.
You're right.
If memory serves, yeah.
You are correct.
You are correct, sir.
You are correct, sir.
There's another movie called Terry, and that was produced by those people, and they liked that one better. I think Into the Wind by ESPN, and I think it's season 4. It's a 2010 documentary. Even if you don't give a shit about sports, those documentaries are amazing. They're done by excellent directors.
The 30 for 30
series
ESPN are always good.
Because they're about stories, about people and situations. Yeah. It's not just like, on August 12th, he ran this many runs. Like, who gives a shit? But like, it's more. Yeah. Anyway, so that's who we're talking. That's who we talk about today. He is our non-creep, Terry Fox.
Great choice, Margot.
Thank you. Someone who fought for other people.
Yeah.
And used their power for good.
Yeah, exactly. Which is what we should all do, right?
We should all aspire to that. Well, if we don't sound too drunk to you and you like the sound of our voices, we co-host a show called Dorking Out, where we dork out, about movies. Sonia, tell them what we're going to be doing this weekend that's a little bit different, or
yes,
whatever.
And in honor of our favorite podcast, F This Movie, they are doing something this weekend called F This Movie Fest, where it is an all-day online film festival with the hashtag F This Movie Fest. And we all start one movie at the same time and we all tweet through the movie, and it's like we're all together or whatever. This year they're doing the year 1983, and one of the movies is Mr. Mom, starring Margot's forever crush, Michael Keaton.
Yep.
And we had Mr. Mom on our list for a long time. So we are going to watch Mr. Mom on Saturday, and then we will record it. And it might be a little later than usual, but it's going to be Mr. Mom.
Which I am super excited about. John Hughes did the script. Terry Garr's in this movie. Martin Mull is in this movie. It's really great. So that should be fun. So that's Dorking Out. And remembering at the top of the show all those places where I gave our social media call outs. Your ideas for creeps and non-creeps, please feel free to send them our way. We love it when you use the hashtag We Got One, and it's the Annie Potts gift from Ghostbusters, which is she's like super adorable. But wherever you want to reach us and you have ideas, that would be amazing. Please leave us a review wherever you get your podcast. That would be really cool too. And if you're going to do one star, at least be original. I mean, that did make me laugh. The whole drunk comment.
One star.
Sonia, where can they find you?
You can find me at thesoniashow.com and The Sonia Show on Twitter, and Instagram and the TikTok. Where can people find you, Margot?
I make it a little more difficult. Sorry, guys. So I'm on Twitter at Brooklyn Margot. I'm on Instagram, Brooklyn Fit Chick. My site is brooklynfitchick.com and .com. You can just find it. And anyway, and I'm on TikTok at Margot Donahue, where I put a lot of clips there lately. I've been learning how to do video editing, so it's been really fun.
Yeah. Go to her website, margotdonahue.gov.
That would be interesting to look up, actually. All right, y'all. In the meantime, stay safe, be kind, don't be a creep.
Be a creep.
Thank you for listening to us talk about creeps. You can follow us at What a Creep Podcast on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
But don't follow us too closely.
You can email us your creepy stories at whatacreeppodcast@gmail.com.
But please keep your dick pics to yourself.